All right, so I have a good question here. So, has Nero from Devil May Cry ever passed Vergil in power? So, if we're gonna think about this as far as like both of the characters existing at the same time, and we're not doing any like, oh, this version here, this version here. So, the most powerful version that we can think that we start off with is we have Nero, right? He's old enough in Devil May Cry 4. We actually meet him. He's like 18 or 19 or something like that. He's the strongest, one of the strongest characters within the Order at this point, and he's kind of meant to go do solo missions, go handle things quietly or like off scene because they don't want others to have to deal with it. And he's also kind of rowdy. He's not very friendly with other folks, and so he gets the Yamato later, right? So he very far, or about halfway in his first part of the story for Devil May Cry 4, he goes in, actually dies, and then he gets resurrected by the Yamato, and then he gets like this pseudo devil trigger that we see is like it's the Nello Angelo kind of persona behind him, or maybe it's like foreshadowing to his devil trigger that he unlocks later in 5. And so he gets very strong here. And then later he would get defeated by Sanctus, who would use him to fuel him as a savior. And that's about the strongest he gets, right? He comes back later and then he beats Sanctus, things like that. But he's Vergil at this point in DMC4 is probably the weakest he's been compared to Nero is the strongest he's been, right? Or like very beginning of Devil May Cry 5, Nero versus like brink of death Vergil, right? And so the like only time that I would say that Nero passes Vergil in power, if we're not doing like different versions, like if we're just looking at them holistically, right, as time goes on, the only time that Nero has more power or the closest he's been was when Vergil was on the brink of death, literally about to die, and then he rips off Nero's Devilbringer arm to get the Yamato from his son. Keep in mind, this is the strongest version up to that point that we had seen Nero become. And Vergil literally just walks it up to him and just rips his arm off. So the weakest point Vergil could be while Nero was alive, with how strong he was at that point, he had not ever passed him. Now, if you look at different versions, that's a different question. Let me know if I should go answer that.